Come with me now. Come with me now.
Welcome and good morning. This is Clint Womack, host of the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's big talker. We're new here to Salt Lake City. This is the Real Estate Radio Network. We're here to be your advocate for real estate and finance. Join me at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday morning here on Utah's big talker, 860 AM. Joining us today is Ron Quintero, CEO of the Real Estate Radio Network. Ron, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show today. If you don't know anything about Ron Quintero, basically, he's the man. He's your real estate and finance expert. He's been around the nation. He knows real estate and finance, and we're going to pick his brain today and learn a little bit more, some of those nuggets that he has in store for us today. Ron, great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Clint. I'm real excited about this is our first time ever broadcasting in the state of Utah, not just Salt Lake City, but the entire state. So we're really excited after we've had such phenomenal growth and have been around most areas around the country. And again, this is our first show, first time ever in your marketplace, and real excited.
Me too. I'm really looking forward to getting the Real Estate Radio Network off the ground here in Utah, kind of being the pioneer here of the talk show and real estate and finance here. Really excited for this opportunity.
Yeah, real quick, Clint, just so your listeners know, you're a proven mortgage and real estate professional. We actually did a very thorough search to be able to find the person to help bring our platform to this marketplace. And I just want to share with your market and your listeners that the goal of the Real Estate Radio Network is to be able to empower local professionals like you, Clint. You've been, the unique thing about you is most of our radio show hosts around the country are either mortgage or real estate, and you actually have great experience on both sides of the fence. So we're excited that you're going to be able to speak to timely and relevant information that's not only real estate related, but also the finance part of the equation as well. So we kind of checked out about 125 candidates, came to your marketplace, presented this opportunity to about 8 to 10 people, and then we got to know you a little bit. You ended up coming out here to San Diego, going through some thorough training and really understanding the deliverable information that helps your listeners make educated and informed decisions. So thank you very much for stepping up to the microphone. And a lot of you that are listening right now, this isn't an easy thing to do. A guy that's never been a broadcaster before, a guy that's never been a personality on air. And we're not here to create funny radio. We're here to deliver the timely truth regarding what's going on in the marketplace. And it takes a lot of moxie. It takes a lot of guts to say, I'm going to learn a whole new skill set, that of walking into that studio and walking up to the microphone and being able to deliver the timely truth. Clint?
Yeah, we'll try to have a little fun too, but definitely looking forward to delivering the timely truths and being a part of the Real Estate Radio Network. Just had a great trip out to San Diego to meet and learn more about the Real Estate Radio Network. Met with you and met with Craig Sewing, and just had a great experience out there meeting you and some of the other professionals around the country, and looking forward to being a part of this great team and building up the marketplace here in Salt Lake City, both the real estate and financial markets here.
Well, let's start by delivering some information and some updates. Give me the pulse of the overall Utah, Salt Lake City market. Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it like foreclosure central, and how it is still kind of active with foreclosures in Florida, even though like in Las Vegas and Phoenix, that those markets have kind of recovered. And I don't think you guys had the big, deep foreclosure marketplace that those guys went through in like 2009, 10, 11. Just give us kind of a pulse on where it's been for the last couple of years and where it's at now, and maybe a little bit of a snapshot of what you see in the next 12 to 18 months.
A couple of years ago, when I would go on the MLS and look for homes for buyers that I was working with, it seemed probably like 8 or 9 out of every 10 listings was a short sale. And it was kind of depressing. Just a looking at all the short sales out there, knowing kind of the hassle that it is to deal with a short sale, and telling buyers that probably have to wait for the bank to get approval, and just tons of short sales probably 2 to 3 years ago. And I think it's really improving from that. We've got a lot of homes that just traditional sales now, a lot less short sales on the market, and think we're definitely moving in the right direction. Still some improvement that needs to be done, and that's why I'm here, but definitely excited about where we're headed and the direction we're going, especially with the job market and the real estate market here.
You know, like here in San Diego, 2 years ago, 62% of the MLS were either REOs or short sales, and that number today is under 20%. So we've really healed quite a bit as well, and the negative market is not what it used to be. There has been a lot of recovery, and part of that is educating your listeners right now in terms of expectations. You know, what's in the marketplace. How's your inventory? Is it high or low? What's going on?
Really low inventory right now. We've got lots of buyers out there looking for homes and not a lot of inventory. I'd definitely say it's more of a seller's market right now.
Prices going up or down?
You know, I'd say kind of flat right now. We're pretty seasonal here in Salt Lake City. We've got tons of snow, and so I'd say we're kind of thawing out of the winter thaw, winter slowdown, starting to pick up a little bit. Prices maybe holding steady or going up a little bit coming into the spring season here in Utah.
Let me ask you this. Whenever there's tight inventory in different cities where we broadcast, we always see the new home builders come back into the marketplace. Are you seeing any of that?
Yeah, we are. We've got one of our big builders here is Ivory Homes. And we've got several other builders, I think, that have started to build and come out of the winter freeze as well. But I know part of the problem the builders have is finding land, especially here in Salt Lake City, especially on the east side. A lot of builders have problems finding land to be able to build on. This is 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker here. We've got Ron Quintero here with us. Right now we're talking about the Salt Lake City market and the real estate radio network that's new here to the Salt Lake City market. We've got to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll be talking about why it's probably a good idea to buy now. This is 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker.
All my friends, they're different people, anxious like the ocean in a storm.
Welcome back. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. We've been talking with the CEO of the Real Estate Radio Network, Ron Quintero, and we're going to talk about why it's a good idea to buy a home now instead of waiting. Ron, my man, my real estate expert, talk to me a little bit more about cost basis.
I appreciate that. You know, what I want to be able to share with your listeners is a concept that they really need to be aware of that the average consumer has no clue of. It's called cost basis in buying real estate. Okay, so if you're listening to the show right now and you're thinking about possibly buying real estate, I really want you to get this message. Many times the cost basis is more important than the price of the property that you're buying. Let me explain. If you end up buying a $200,000 home, is that a reasonable price point in your marketplace, or is that too low or too high?
No, that's perfect. Yeah, 200,000's good for the Salt Lake City market.
Okay, so let's use the number $200,000. If you think that rates are going to come back down, first of all, I think you're mistaken. If you're listening to this show right now and you think rates are coming down, you're going to sit on the fence and wait for rates to come back down, you're mistaken. You're seeing more and more of the government pulling out of buying the mortgage-backed securities. So the low interest rates that we've been experiencing were artificially induced by the government. And my point is this with cost basis. Give me a range, Clint. Where are interest rates for a 30-year Fannie Mae fixed-rate mortgage? Give me a range. Don't give me a specific number.
Yeah, I'd say anywhere from 4.25% to 4.5%, depending on your credit score.
Depending on credit score, down payment, and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
Okay, so here we go. People that are sitting there waiting for rates to come down, first of all, rates in the threes is really abnormal, really abnormal. And usually when they come into the threes, they dip into the threes for just a brief window, but they bounce right back out of it. And I want people to know that we are in a very normalized market. However, if rates start to hedge up, which most professional insiders believe they will over the next 12 to 24 months, that same $200,000 property, if you could have bought that $200,000 property today with a 4.25%, 4.5% interest rate, okay? And Clint, I know you could do all the math for your listeners. So anybody that wants the exact numbers on their property or property they're thinking about buying, give Clint a call, and he'll work those numbers for you. But let's just say that you decided I want to wait till rates go up and the activity slows down a little bit, and it's not so much a seller's market, and we want to wait for inventory to grow so we could have more negotiating power. I want to be able to get that $200,000 property at $185. Well, if you wait, and that $185 is a year from now or 2 years from now, and all of a sudden rates are at 6.5. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say that's going to happen. But let's just pretend for 1 second. You run the numbers and you buy that $185,000 property at 6.5% or 6% or 7%. Versus buying that $200,000 property at 4.25. Most people don't know this, but if you run the numbers, if you get a traditional 30-year fixed-rate mortgage and you pay it off for a 30-year duration of time, you've bought that house 3 times over. The cost basis is your mortgage payments. What are you paying? And if you work the numbers, you're going to see this, because I've worked these numbers for 32 years. The cost basis is more important than the price of the home. And right now you have super great low rates. I think now's a great time to even buy an investment property. How's the rental market over there?
Yeah, if you have any questions about rates or where rates are going or your current rate, please call me after the show at 801-674-9995 or send me a text. Text the word rates to 801-674-9995. Be happy to discuss rates with you. I couldn't agree with you more, Ron. Here in the Salt Lake City market, I try to educate my buyers and clients that this is really the perfect storm that we've seen over the past several years, where you have housing prices low and interest rates low at the same time, which dramatically affects your cost basis. So even if you end up paying $10,000 more for the house and you have a rate in the 3s or low 4s, you're going to save so much money over the long run by pulling the trigger now instead of waiting for the house to come down 10 grand and then your rate's up in the 6s and you're spending more money on the house.
Yeah, by the way, we've seen that over and over and over again. I want to share this with your listeners just to give some perspective of where rates are at. When I started in real estate in 1982, the first home I ever got a family involved with was out of Norwalk, California, a suburb of L.A. And the buyer went out. They bought the home for $110,000. But they got their FHA loan, 16.5% fixed rate, 5.5 points. Trust me, you don't want to see the cost basis numbers on that interest rate.
Yeah, I'm luckily for me, as a mortgage and real estate professional, I don't have to deal with rates in the 16s, but you never know. They could go back up in that direction. Let's hope not.
Yeah. So let me ask you another question regarding your market and what's going on over there. You know, being the CEO of the Real Estate Radio Network, I get an opportunity to talk to a lot of people in different cities, different counties around the country. Some communities have down payment assistance programs. Some communities don't. Some states and government entities have created grants and things like that for people that want to be able to buy their first home. Do you have any of those programs going on right now in the Salt Lake City market?
Yeah, if you're just joining us, this is 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show. Got Ron Quintero here with us. It depends on the county and the city. So some cities have usually around a $5,000 first-time buyer grant that people can apply for, and then different counties have different rules. And it's kind of on a first come, first serve basis, and just depends on if they have money or not. But I definitely give that to my clients as an opportunity to apply for those grants if they're short on down payment money or don't have a way to come up with a down payment.
Yeah, I love those kind of programs, and I just think it's so helpful to help people get involved in the American dream of home ownership. Now, some people say, the American dream is no longer home ownership, and that's only because there's still a lot of people that felt, they still remember the impact of the negative market that we just came out of in 2007, the subprime meltdown and the Alt-A meltdown, and so many people lost their homes to foreclosures. And, the biggest generation of home buyers is right in front of us. The highest birth rate in the last 100 years was 1991. The second birth rate in the last 100 years, highest birth rate in America, was 1990, and third was 1989. And if you doubt me, just go to Google and type in birth rates for America, and you'll see the charts and the graphs and all that fun stuff. And so that means my son, as an example, was born in 1991. He just graduated from Berkeley. So he's just got a job, and he's entering the workforce, and he'll fall in love and want to end up getting a home and all that fun stuff, or maybe a condo. And my daughter's graduating college this year from UC Northridge, and she's already got a job. So that generation is going to start gobbling up property, and it's going to be a great opportunity for people to step into the marketplace and take advantage of the market sooner than later.
Yeah, and then that's one of the main reasons I'm here, is to help the new people coming into the market, to educate them, and to build up the market here in Salt Lake City. I know your son and other first-time buyers have lots of questions, maybe doubts and other things that they've heard on the media and things about buying a home. And, I am a huge proponent of home ownership. I have two grandparents that live off of rental income. Their sole income that they provide for their family and their retirement is income from rental properties. And I've seen it firsthand how it can help people. And what I see a lot of my clients do is they'll buy a home. 5 to 8 years down the road, they outgrow the home, or they want something a little bigger or a little fancier, and they turn that first home into a rental, and they're able to start building up a little rental empire one by one, and get some residual income off of rental properties.
Clint, here in San Diego, by 1991, I'd been in real estate for 9 years, and either through joint ventures, partnerships, or just directly myself, I had acquired interest in 56 rental properties.
Hey, Ron, that's why you're the man.
Okay. But, one of the things I was going to say here is I do first-time buyer seminars sometimes. And one of the things I point out to people is, I always say this, the only piece of property I ever regret selling was every one I ever sold. And it sounded like your grandparents, they knew better than me in terms of they buy, they hold, and they pay it off, and they let it cash flow. And that's a smart way to do it. And a lot of people, they're banking on Social Security. They're banking on, a pension or something like that. And, with what we've seen with corporate America and how many companies go, come and go on Wall Street, a person has to be responsible for building their own wealth, their own retirement cash flow. So I didn't know that story about your grandparents, and I love hearing that because I think that's really good radio and for food for thought for your listeners out there. That if you're listening to the show right now and you're not really comfortable or certain with what your retirement's going to look and feel like, I know, Clint, you've done a lot of planning with your clients, real estate, mortgages, using an asset base like that to be able to ensure their retirement. So, I just want your listeners to know that when you came out here to San Diego, we were really impressed with you, your book of knowledge, your commitment. I know that you're a family man, married?
Married, 2 kids, one on the way here in a couple months in April.
So you're going to have 3 kids then?
3 kids, 3 and under. I'm a little nervous, a little scared.
Man, you're juggling a lot of balls there.
Taking on a real estate host position here, got another kid on the way, and loving life, though. Things are good.
That's good. But for me, that tells me a lot about the man. Married, solid family. You got a good foundation, a great base. Good for you.
If you're just joining us, this is Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show here on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. Have Ron Quintero here with us. We're talking about the Salt Lake City market, home ownership, and I'd like to touch on something that Ron brought up about Social Security and retirement. I decided at a young age, I can't remember, maybe 15 or 16, that I was not going to rely on Social Security just because I had heard all the issues with it, and so many people telling me that there wasn't going to be any money in Social Security when I got older. And I don't know if you probably haven't seen a letter like this, Ron, but I got a letter from Social Security probably 2 years ago saying that, basically just saying that we don't anticipate that we'll have a lot of money by the time you reach retirement age. We anticipate that your benefits will be lower than maybe you think they'll be. And it was just kind of a wake-up call to get my house in order.
About 4 years ago, and it said that your projected, and I'm 55 now, it said your projected retirement income from Social Security will be $1,130 a month.
Kind of hard to live in San Diego on $1,130 a month.
I told my wife, I said, I think we're going to have to move into a trailer out of the river.
Down by the river.
You know, I said, that's not healthy. You know, I said, after all, you know, I've been working my whole life. You know, I got my first job when I was 16 years old, and, you know, I grew up in the foster care system and got legally emancipated when I was 16, so I've always been self-reliant as well. And I think that's important. It's a very important message for your listeners to basically say, hey, I need to take personal responsibility for my outcome and not get angry at the government. I mean, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat, that's for sure. You know, I like to think I'm a libertarian, where I'm all for less government intrusion, and less taxes. And the last thing I want to be able to do is send more money to Washington, D.C., where they've basically demonstrated and proven over and over and over again that neither side of the aisle can budget. They can't live within their means. And they're spending way ahead of themselves, and they're basically doing it at the expense of the younger generations. So if you're listening to the show right now, and if you don't have a strategic plan for acquiring real estate, and maybe even an aggressive plan for paying off that real estate, because I'm not a big fan for keeping real estate in debt. I like debt-free real estate. It sounds like your grandparents in terms of, you know, getting rid of that mortgage and getting that cash flowing and enjoying your retirement. Clint?
Yeah, we're definitely on the same page here, Ron. I'm glad you're joining us. We've got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking about accelerated mortgage payments and why it's so important to pay your mortgage off faster. This is 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show, and we're talking about accelerated mortgage payments and why it's so important to pay your mortgage off faster than when it's actually due. Ron, tell us a little bit more about why it's so important to pay your mortgage off faster than when it's due.
Yeah, a lot of people never really stop and do the math. They just get a mortgage and they go on with life, and they create a budget around their household, and they just stick that little rent/mortgage category, whatever that number is, they put it in there. And most people have never sat down with a qualified, licensed mortgage or real estate professional. And you're both?
I'm both. Yeah,
okay.
I actually started out in California with my real estate broker license that gave me the chance to do both mortgage and real estate.
Most people have never sat down with a licensed, qualified professional and said, let's strategize. What does that number need to be? And you know, the impact of accelerated payments, like a lot of people will get tax returns coming up here. You know, we're entering tax season, right? We're in it. And, you know, if you get that nice little tax return, of maybe $1,500 or $2,000 or $3,000, you won't even notice it. But you got to sit down with a qualified, licensed mortgage professional and ask, if I give this tax return, if I pay down my principal, eliminate some of my debt, because at the end of the day, that's what a mortgage is, it's debt. If I pay down that debt, how many years, how many months will it shorten the term of my mortgage? And one little $1,500 or $2,000 or $3,000 payment, particularly in the first 3 to 4 years of a mortgage, I mean, you're basically turning that, let's just say, I'll go right in the middle there, $2,500 tax return. You do the math, it'll surprise you. You'll be basically tripling that $2,500 in the way of value, minimum tripling. And again, the numbers vary depending upon the type of mortgage that you have and the amount of the payment and the amount of the mortgage. But you will more than triple that tax return if, in fact, you apply it towards principal reduction, and then you're accelerating or decreasing. You're actually accelerating the principal repayment, but you're decreasing the number of months and in some cases years that you're actually paying on the mortgage. Clint?
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of the biweekly payment schedule for a couple reasons. It gives you an extra payment per year. So if you're normally making 12 mortgage payments per year, you'll end up making 13 payments per year on a biweekly schedule. It also helps you budget, because as you get paid, you can just make a budgeted mortgage payment on a biweekly schedule. And then I think general rule of thumb is it knocks anywhere from 5 to 7 years off of your mortgage just by making one extra payment per year.
And Clint, let's talk about this for a minute, because there's a guy out of actually Utah. I'm not going to name his name because I don't need to get a lawsuit for slander. But there's a guy out of Utah who's a financial advisor who wrote a book that was really popular. And in the book he talked about always pull out your equity and put it in a side account, let the side account grow, because if you give the money back to the bank, then you can't access it. You got to qualify to reborrow your own money. And you've heard that, right?
Yeah, and going along with that, just to steal some words from Dave Ramsey here, debt is dumb, and that's kind of my philosophy is getting rid of debt as soon as you can. And then
agreed. And you see, here's the problem with those really, really, really smart guys that could put together all these graphs and all these charts and do this analysis and all that. Most, by the way, they are right. They are right, without a doubt. You could probably be a little bit ahead of the game. You probably do a little bit better not putting the money towards a mortgage. But the problem with that philosophy is it requires tremendous discipline. And most people don't have the discipline that thought process requires. So if you just bank the money, get it out of your hands, it's almost like put it in a safe place where you can't access it, you're probably in the long term going to be better off. Only 1 out of 3 properties in the United States of America, I think the number's like 34 or 35%, are free and clear.
Well, let's get that number up to 50 or 60% here in Utah and turn things around here in the Salt Lake City market.
You know what? I'll bet you, I don't know the exact number for Utah, but I'll bet you that number is higher than the national average.
Yeah, I think we've got a smart group of people here, kind of frugal, kind of looking for good deals and trying to make good financial decisions. And that's what we're trying to do here is educate people and help get on that right financial road. And like you were saying, it's kind of like a New Year's resolution. I think people will make these plans and stay strong for a couple months, but it really does take discipline to stay on that plan. And then to have help on the side, a mortgage, a real estate professional like myself that can kind of give you encouragement when you're having questions or when you run into bumps or snags, if someone loses a job or you get off course, we can kind of help you get back on course and navigate some of those questions that come up. If you're just joining us, this is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, KKAT, Utah's big talker. We've got Ron Quintero here with us, having a great conversation about paying off our mortgages early, building up for retirement, and setting our own plan and not depending on the government.
So, Clint, let me ask you a question. The goal of your show, I know that there's a lot of things that you want to be able to accomplish, but tell me some of the professionals you network with and that you introduce your clients to, and some of the people that you're currently interviewing to come on to your show as expert contributors to add value and content to your listeners.
That's the part that I'm most excited about this. I'm sure the listeners don't want to hear me go on and on for an hour each week about real estate and finance, and that's what I'm really looking forward to, is bringing on other professionals here in Salt Lake City that can just give great advice, and people that I trust that I can refer my clients to. I've got a CPA. His name is Bart Weed. He's my CPA, and I'm interviewing him for to come on the show as an expert contributor. And every year, I do not ask twice about how much I need to pay him, because he saves me so much money in his advice and strategies that we make to save money on taxes and to better position myself for the year to come. And we've got several other people that we're looking as well. I've interviewed a couple of divorce attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys, financial planners, estate planners. We've got a whole group of people that we're looking and really excited to bring on the show and give more advice and more direction to the people here in Salt Lake City.
You know, we got about 4 minutes until we got to take a break, and I really want your listeners to stay engaged. When we get back from that break, I want to be able to share with people the Tony Soprano story regarding the importance of estate planning. Can I do that?
Oh, I'd love it. I mean, that's why we brought you on. You're 50 plus years of experience, real estate expert, and I look forward to any stories that you have and any knowledge that you can share with us.
You know, the one I'm going to share with you right now, though, seeing how you just opened up the door, I'm going to take it. I'm going to step into that door.
Nice.
We have a radio show out of Dallas, Texas, a guy by the name of Cole Holmes. And one of the things that he's real passionate about is every time he originates a loan or basically does a proposal for a person, whether it's to refinance or purchase, he always makes sure that that person connects with a life insurance professional, an estate planning attorney, as well as a wealth advisor, somebody like a financial advisor that you already have a great relationship with. And I know that you're going to open up your contacts list and, you know, introduce to your listeners all the professionals you work with. But Cole did a show which blew my mind. I mean, he had my wife and I in tears as we were listening to this. He was telling a story about a young man that he got involved in real estate. And then one of the things that he's passionate about that I am an absolute advocate for, and most people don't have this. First of all, they don't have a living trust, or they don't have some type of probate avoidance, which we're going to talk about that in the next segment. But they don't have, at minimum, term life insurance, a policy that's equal to the mortgage amount. So, you know, God forbid, should something happen, car accident, whatever, illness, that, let's say, the breadwinner is taken out, that while a family is confronted with having to go through a traumatic loss of the head person of the household, if they didn't put in the proper insurance, most of the time what that does is forces to sell the property. And during this traumatic period of time where they just lost a loved one, they're also now compounding that with having to be forced with the relocation and the liquidation of the current house because it can no longer be sustainable financially.
Ron, I couldn't agree with you more. We've got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking about why it's so important to make life insurance a mandatory part of your budget. This is Clint Womack on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker.
Well, I came home.
Welcome back. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. We've been talking about life insurance and why it's such an important part of our budgets and plans. Ron, what do you think? Why is life insurance such an important part of our budgets?
You know, there's in the mortgage industry, they use a lot of acronyms, FHA, LTVs, and all that. Not important. There's one very important acronym is called DTIs. Stands for what, Clint?
Debt to income ratio, one of the most important ones.
Here's what I want your listeners to get, know, and understand. You're a salesperson out there in the marketplace. It's just hoping to earn a commission off you, not wanting to create a long-term strategy, not creating a long-term plan. They're going to use the maximum debt to income ratio, the maximum DTIs. What are like Fannie Mae DTIs right now? I don't even know.
Yeah, right now they recently lowered it, which is actually kind of good. Helps people budget better. But yeah, normally it was around 45%. Sometimes if you had a good credit score, you could be up around 50% and still get a Fannie Mae approval. Right now, they're more around 43% and kind of maxes out at 45% for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Okay, I'm going to use 45 just because it's safe. It's an easy number to remember, okay? If it's one of those typical salespeople, they're going to want to get you the highest mortgage they can because their fees that they're going to earn are typically based upon the amount of the loan. And so they're going to qualify you at 45% DTI. A person that understands the overall plan, if they first sit down and meet with you, if you're listening to the show right now, I want you to get this. And they quote you a 45% DTI, throw up a red flag. Warning, warning, warning. Now, if a person like Clint's going to sit down with you and say, okay, I've done an analysis, I've done a budget. By the way, the budget for a renter is completely different. A household budget for a renter, completely different than owning a home. And you know, Clint's going to tell you your 45% maximum DTI, you could afford X mortgage. However, in doing the assessment of your overall financial situation right now, I'm going to recommend that you not go to the maximum 45% DTI. You buy just a little bit less house because I need to work into your budget a life insurance premium that you pay monthly and make that a part of your household budget. And so if you could just have the discipline just to buy a little bit less house, we could fit in that same budget. Instead of a 45, it might be a 41 or 42% DTI. Are you with me, Clint?
Ron, you must be reading my mind. We're on the same wavelength here, and I've actually, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about that, talking about budgets and your overall financial health. I like to sit down with a new client and look at their whole picture. You know what's kind of funny about loans and underwriting is we don't even look at your gas bill, your electric bill, your water bill, and all these other bills that you have that don't even go into that 45% debt to income ratio. In my opinion, it's probably even better to stay below 40% because you've got all these other things that go, and then even just saving money for an emergency that might come up and having money in place for a life insurance policy and all these other bills. And then if you get a flat tire and anything else that comes up, we're going to be talking a lot about budgets on the show and how to budget and have things in place for when those bumps and those emergencies come up in the road.
You know, let's piggyback on that because before we went to break, I asked permission to share with you the Tony Soprano story.
Yes, please.
So real quick, if you've not, by the way, if you question what I'm going to share with you right now, just go to Google and type in James Gandolfini. Don't ask me how to spell it. James Gandolfini.
Google will probably help you out with that. They'll know what you're talking about.
I've learned that I don't have to be such a good speller anymore.
Yep.
But anyways, just type in James Gandolfini estate, and you'll read about the story I'm going to share with you right now. James Gandolfini, he's the actor, and his character was Tony Soprano. I mean, first of all, he's been in many, many, many movies. Brilliant actor. I really enjoyed him as an actor before he passed away. And last year, about mid-year, he was in Italy in a hotel, and he died suddenly of a heart attack. His young son was with him, trying to resuscitate his dad, was not successful in doing it. Tony's gone. James is gone. And so when they went to go check out his estate, at the time that he passed, he he was worth approximately $70 million. That number, I think, is a big number. It's a huge number.
Yeah, I like that number.
He was worth $70 million. And other legal experts that know estate planning and so forth said if his estate plan was structured properly, his estate should have been responsible for somewhere between $3 and $5 million in taxes to the state and to the Fed. And I hate giving money to the government. It's so mismanaged. However, his attorneys blew it. Because of the way they structured his estate, his family, while dealing with the grieving of the loss of Tony Soprano, James Gandolfini, is responsible for just over $30 million in taxes.
I'm sure part of that $70 million was tied up in real estate and other things that wasn't exactly liquid at the time.
You know, and I know they probably didn't have $30 million laying around.
Who does?
Right? And if you do, you're supposed to be putting it to work. But here's what I want you to understand, what I want your listeners to understand. You got to have a solid plan, because his property is going to end up in probate court. By the way, his properties, because the family didn't have $30 million laying around, and the guy who makes all the money for that family just died, they're having a fire sale right now of his estate to be able to raise those taxes. I mean, if Tony Soprano was around, he probably would have taken out a hit on his lawyers.
Yeah, I think he would have.
But think about that. It's kind of sad, because most people don't understand that if without a proper living trust, without a proper will, you're basically entrusting the government, the court system, and attorneys you don't know to administer your estate, and they start to attach fees to it. I recently saw a story about a woman that passed. She owned real estate, but she also had about $300,000 cash, but they couldn't find her. And by the time they finally tracked her down, by paying private investigators, by paying law firms that were assigned by the court system, it was under $100,000 to actually go to the heirs.
That is just sad.
Isn't it?
You work a whole life to build up a legacy, to build up some savings and a good foundation. And you know what? Ultimately, all of this talk, this whole hour that we've spent together, you know what it ultimately comes down to me is the bottom line is family. We do this all for our families. We love our families, whether we're married and have kids or just our families. We make these plans and we try to do these things so that we can protect our families. We look out for our loved ones. We meet with mortgage and real estate professionals. We meet with estate planners and attorneys, ones that we can trust, ones that have good advice and have our best interest. We do that all so that we can protect our family and protect our legacy.
And that's, what we were talking about with Tony Soprano, actor James Gandolfini, is his legacy was just ripped apart. Everything that he built. In his estate plan, his second wife in his life, he wanted 20% of his estate to go to her. And now, the way it was structured, because of this poorly structured, and because of this huge obligation, she's getting nothing. She not only lost James Gandolfini, she's lost everything.
Yeah, which is completely against what he wanted and what his intentions were. You think, what was it, $70 million? That a little piece of that could go to his wife. He
wanted a big chunk of his money to actually go to some charities, and guess what? They got axed out too. So if you're listening to this show right now, and you're not really certain the type of estate plan that you have in place, or not certain if you have a will or living trust, Clint, with your listeners, have them text the word trust, and please slowly give your phone number so people can get it. And folks, if you're going to jot down this number, is this a cell phone number that you're giving?
This is my straight cell phone number dedicated to this show.
Okay, and so what I want you to do, if you're listening to the show today, please, if you send him a text, after you send the text, I'd love for you to save that phone number in your contacts list, and just know that within the Salt Lake City, Utah marketplace, you have a friend in the real estate and mortgage business that's willing to introduce you to the right-hearted professionals and give you the right advice. Clint, what's the contact information?
Yeah, this is important. Again, like Ron said, make a note of this number. We want you to save this number and keep this number for years to come, because we're here to protect you and watch out for you and your family. Again, that number is 801-674-9995. That's 801-674-9995. And like Ron said, we're here for you. We're your advocates for real estate and finance. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, KKAT, Utah's Big Talker. We've got Ron Quintero here. We've really enjoyed your time and all that you've done for us, Ron. Just really quickly going along with what you were saying before about the trust and the life insurance. It's all part of a master plan, and we're here, not just myself, but me and my team of professionals that I trust are here to craft a individualized plan for you and help you and your family have a solid foundation to grow on, to grow and rely upon in the years to come. Thanks so much for joining us today. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. Next week, we've got an amazing show planned for you. We'll be talking about VA home loans and everything you ever wanted to know about a reverse mortgage. A special thanks to Corey Hooker and all the people here at Cumulus for helping us put on this show today. And we'll see you next week.
The sky was red, fire on the mountain, she said.